when you got arrested after that, after your dad and your brother came to see you, you got arrested a few days later. How did your family support you during the court process and all the hearings and then your trial? What was that like?
So let me say, my sisters, they stopped communicating with me. They were pretty much like, we don't have a brother no more. But I was able to resolve those issues years later.
Your two sisters who have passed, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But my dad, he came to visit me, and he was asked by some of his friends, why do you support him? He's like, that's my son. So my dad, he supported me, and my brother also came to visit me, when I was locked up. So, but in terms of court, I would tell him not to come. I even had, people wanted to buy me an attorney. I don't want no attorney. So I was just in a different phase of my life. During my initial arrest and period of imprisonment, I was like in the zone and in the funk, and I was like training. I was training to be violent, but at the same time, I was afraid of being violent because I knew that I would lose myself in violence. And I only had targets for who I wanted to be violent towards, right? And so the targets for me during that time in my mind were the people who were responsible for the deaths of my mother and little brother, or any rival gang member that got at me foul. If they got at me foul, then it's going to be well, he looked familiar. If any rival gang member got at me foul, then in my mind, then I would enact vengeance on them as if they were the person who caused the harm in my family.
I would imagine that it would be difficult for some 60s to be mad at you, considering you lost your mom and your little brother in the war, and understand what you did in terms of victimizing Mumbles. That was part of the conflict. So that kind of, some people say that's what we signed up for, right?
Yes.
But we didn't sign up for our mothers and our little brothers to get killed.
Indeed.
So I would imagine some 60s may have felt empathy towards you.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, because the thing is, that isn't what we were about. You know what I mean? I mean, not in my wildest dreams. I mean, just straight up, man. Back then, I was banged out, and I was ready for anything. Like, so I was at that place to where, like, come for me. Like, I'm doing this. I'm gonna represent myself. I'm gonna shoot back, right? That's where I was. You know what I'm saying? And so I wasn't about being victimized. And so, yeah, for that to happen, man, yeah, I did look at them as how people look at people who commit crimes on women and children, right? As cowards. Like, that's how I viewed it. I was like, so it is what it is. And so I'm sure you have, some of the OG 60s who feel that same way. You know what I mean? Who didn't support that. I mean, that goes without saying, right? Because that is what we weren't about that,
Okay, so during your trial, no family. Your dad wasn't even coming at that point?
I asked him not to come. I didn't even tell him my dates. I wasn't concerned about anyone coming. You had people. There would be people that would come, and they would like be they came. Some of my homies came, but I wasn't with people coming because they would make. They alluded to, oh, that's such and such sitting in the crowd, and it would impact my my court hearing.
What about Stanford's family? Were there people there for him?
No.
No?
No, they just let it go. But I'm gonna say it like this. Remember I said that I heard from someone that if they can't get me to get my mom, only thing I'm gonna say is read between the lines.
Okay. So I'll say it for those who are watching and listening. I guess there were rumors that we can't even go to the trial to support Stanford because of what happened to Tommy Ross's family,
No, not that part. What I'm saying to you is, when I heard about if they can't get me to get my mom and little brother, I know who they said that. But I'm not going to say that name because I don't want to create no controversy.
Was there a lot of police presence at your trial? At least a couple of extra bailiffs than normal?
It wasn't even like that.
No?
No, it wasn't even like that. It wasn't like that. It was just it was just so the trial it didn't even occur until what 88. You know what I mean? I was in the county jail for like 3 years.
And did they ever try to offer you a deal?
Yeah, but they weren't. You know, I was in my lie in terms of me saying it was self-defense. So I was willing to take, a manslaughter term, but they wanted to give me 17 years of life. And 17 years of life was what they eventually convicted me of. So I wouldn't take a deal for 17 years of life. But they wouldn't lower their charge.
Okay. So you kind of knew that it's just inevitable I'm going to be found guilty of all this stuff. Yeah.
Because the thing is, you had witnesses who would also saw what had occurred. And then I was fighting from the self-defense aspect, right? Saying that he pulled a weapon and struggles and sued for possession of the weapon. And so that's what my legal defense was, What my legal defense was a lie, right?
What kind of relationship did you have with your public defender, and did you have the same one during those 3 years?
So, I didn't really understand as a teenager growing up and as a young man, I didn't really understand the legal system, and I wasn't necessarily bought into connecting with the lawyers because there was always this mistrust, So I would say that, I just shared with him what my defense was, and in some instance, it felt like he was fighting for me. Then other instances just didn't really feel right, I felt, but the fact of the matter is that I did do the shooting. And so, and the outcome of what happened is what I was given,